and try to make this about the soundtrack. So I was just speaking out loud that what's suicide? Suicide is nothing but the results of a terrible diet. You ever notice that these guys, some of them, they don't commit suicide on Thanksgiving? You know, I reviewed 1,000 police logs. I've looked into 1,000 criminal cases in courts, civil courts, criminal court. None of these suicides seem to happen around Thanksgiving. Why? Because food is the origin of crime. Lack of food, lack of proper nourishment is the origin of crime. That's what crime is. What is crime? Nothing but misusing power. You know, a guy has a gun, now he misuses it, give a bad name to guys with guns. This guy over here has a blade, he misuses it, give a bad name to guy with blades. Even though that 90% of guys out there with blades are opening up boxes and putting it into supermarkets and delis and trying to keep stock up to date. That they don't mention. That Asian cutting fish downtown in Chinatown, slicing fish, huh? They don't mention that he slices it with a pretty sharp blade, would you say? Huh? Like Vincho Castillo? No fucking respect? Huh? Now they blaming drugs. The moment somebody's caught with drugs or commit suicide with drugs, boom, it had to be the drug. But they don't mention what he ate. They don't mention what he had in his surroundings. They don't mention that he misused it. We had a case just recently across the ocean about a young man misused drugs. Immediately, boom, take ecstasy off the streets. If I take a lit cigarette and I throw it in your face lit and it burns the tip of your nose, should we ban all cigarettes in that neighborhood? Or should we look into the mental psyche of that individual and check his plantation and see how weak it is? What wealthy folks call bullshit. Another 10 fools again, honoring a template or some kind of stature that's fake. What wealthy folks call fake. But when somebody does a good deed, you had a hero across the ocean also. He was a good Samaritan. And he saved 4 Asians that were drowning. He had acid on top of him and a little bit of reefer. Nobody gave him credit for that. But when they do something negative, they immediately cast the blame on whatever's found on top of them, like a wrench or a nail. It had to be the nail that made your mans commit suicide. But they didn't check the dose. And that perhaps he was technologically overdosed. A lot of folks today are technologically overdosed. They cannot sit down by themselves, not even for 5 minutes. They gotta watch something. They gotta communicate through social media. They gotta book a flight. They gotta send an email. They gotta respond to some kind of subliminal ad on Craigslist looking for employment. I know some guys that can't even sit down with themselves for 5 minutes to reset. You know how many Asians have lost their minds over this technology? And will they ever reset? Will they ever find that hope to get back into their senses and reconnect with humanity? Immediately, boom, blame the drug. A man killed his wife just recently in the East Side. He was found with a little ounce of marijuana, a little bit of reefer, something they're ready to legalize in New York City, hopefully in America soon, and then the entire Western American field. Maybe these other states and these other countries will follow. Maybe Canada will eventually legalize reefer. But they don't want to point out that maybe he misused it. You know, was it his first joint? Or maybe perhaps he was overwhelmed. This audio, this upload is not here to gain wealth. It's to inform you, to educate you, to re-educate you. So you won't participate in some of that hollow thinking. I scored a 130 in my IQ. When you get to that level, you write some shit in my comments, all right? Thanks again. This was Accent on America. I'm Matthew Grace. The War is